Welcome back to More BS.
I'm Chef Babette.
And I'm Shabnam. And, we've been talking about some interesting things on this podcast, and we're really happy that you've been along for it. But I kind of want to talk about what I think resonates with most of you, with most of us, is the element of fear and how fear is the ultimate killer in life.
Fear is a hot mess.
Right?
Yes, yeah. When people hang out in that scary space, that fearful place, man, the things that we do to ourselves and to others, to the planet, it's just, say that word. I always mess this word up. It's just unconscionable. Is that it? Unconscionable.
Unconscionable. How many of you have waited, like, okay, I'll do this step. I'll call this person. I'll send that email. I'll hit send on that application, and you just think on it, and you think on it,
all in the way, huh?
Because you're in your mind, you're like, well, I'm not good enough, or it's not completed yet, or there's so many better people for this, or I'm just not the right fit, or maybe my voice is annoying. I don't know. Like, who's gonna watch? So many other stories that you've created, and Baji is pointing to me because all of these things are my fears and why I didn't start this podcast or whatever I didn't do years ago because of fear. Wow. Because I was afraid you wouldn't watch, and I was afraid you wouldn't listen. And listen, we've had some haters. We've had some people write some nasty comments.
And Yeah. You erased them or something?
Well, I responded.
You didn't tell me that.
I responded like I schooled somebody. They said something like, vegans are the worst. They kill the plants, the animals, and I'm like, A, you're not speaking English, but B, then you're double the killer. Like, you kill the animals who also kill the plants that they're, you're a hypocrite.
Anyway.
Yes,
there's always going to be a hater.
There's always going to be a hater.
Always.
And I've just got to learn. My process is learning how to not be fearful of them.
And also how to ignore that which is unimportant. And we don't ignore enough.
And that's what fear does. You hear a voice that is so incredibly loud in your brain, and you can't shut it the fuck up. And what you really need to do is be like, brain, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
But I'm not interested in listening.
Well, but think about now think about groups of humans that are fearful of other groups. Now we operate in a fearful space because a person is black. Now I'm just going to use myself. We're fearful. We have people now that will murder, thinking that certain people are here to take their place, replace them. That's fear. That's wallowing in fear. You'd be willing to hurt someone not to feel that way. I don't know. It's dangerous, and it's scary, and it's unimportant.
And when you live a life that lets fear dictate your actions,
thank you,
it's problematic.
It is
because
scary.
You're putting the power outside of yourself.
Thank you.
And you're creating a scenario that really probably isn't happening. Now there are times where fear does exist to save you, fight or flight, like you're being followed in the middle of the night down dark alleys. Some guys they're fearful situations.
They're fearful situations.
But it's different than you being a non-person of color, a white person, seeing a group of people of color walk by you, and then you locking your car door, or you clutching onto your purse a little bit tighter. By the way, we see that.
Yeah, we see it. We feel
We're not dumb. People see that.
Yeah.
Groups of people, individuals see those things. And so those fears that you're allowing to dictate your actions, that's the killer. That's a killer of opportunity. It's a killer of thinking things differently and perceiving and pursuing a life that's worth pursuing. And so now we're in a point where, imagine if instead of feeling fearful of sharing a community space with different diverse people,
Right.
being excited about an opportunity to now collaborate with people that have
Right.
different life experiences,
Yes.
can bring a different perspective, and can
Mhm.
thereby make your project or whatever it is you're trying to engage in so much more robust.
Right.
Because really now you're in a time, there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Everybody has something to share.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that you're saying that. I love the different cultures. I'm just really into that. Just learning about you, you know, and not being afraid of you, embracing you.
And that's so great, because now in the world, when we have access to so many more things due to the internet and technology, we are seeing things that you didn't see like 100 years ago, right? This is why World War II was what it was, why Hitler was able to make such a moving impact on the world, because we didn't have things like the access to the internet, where we saw the brutalities that he was engaging in before he became this empire, right? That Germany was in World War II. And so now my concern is that because we have so much access to seeing things and hearing reactions and people hating on your opinions, and it stops you. It stops you from doing the things that you so intrinsically want to do, because now there's a fear of like, well, what's so-and-so going to say?
What are they going to say?
What are they going to do? What are my haters going to say? What are my parents going to think? Like, who gives a shit? Like, at the end of the day, this is your life and your action. And if you're going to succeed, you have to fail. You have to fail. But that means you have to try. And you shouldn't be fearful of failing. Being fearful of failing is ridiculous, because that's the only way you can succeed.
And that's how you learn. That's like, what if we had been fearful to, we didn't have very much money to open that restaurant. We had a few people that assisted us financially. But what if we had just been too fearful to go forward? I'm still there today. We didn't have any money. You understand what I'm saying? And we both could have been like, well, we can't do that because we have no money. But we had something bigger than money. We had desire. We had a plan. And we had a product. And it was, veganism was needed in our area at the time, and we went for it. And here it is. We made it through COVID, and we're still there. Wow. I know, and we're older people. We could have been fearful that we were too old,
right,
to start the business.
Right.
And there's so many different things that
during the recession,
yes,
right?
that you add fear to. Well, I'm scared. Well, you know what? Calm down.
So one thing about me that you guys probably don't know is that I suffered from what they called cyclical vomiting syndrome. And cyclical vomiting syndrome is a neurological disorder. And because remember, 95% of your stress receptors are in your gut. So when you get nervous and you feel that tingling sensation in your stomach, that's because your stress receptors are in your gut. And so I was in a terrible marriage. And I mean, like, I knew it. I knew I was, but I was young. I was 28, and he was significantly older than I was, 13, 14 years older. And I just thought, like, okay, this is it. This is a decision I made. I thought my parents were Muslim. They'd been married for 47 years. They would look down on me. And I stayed in this marriage, and I started getting sick. All right? I started getting sick. And I mean, like, my physical body was telling me, it was reacting in a way because my environment was not a safe space for me to be. It wasn't healthy. And so after 7 years, my ex-husband had walked into, at that time, my husband walked into the hospital. I'd been in there 9 days, and he was like, I want a divorce. After having a 9-day CVS bout in the hospital. And I was so scared. I was so scared. What was I going to do now that this man was going to leave me? And that sounds crazy, but like I just wasn't this person that had confidence anymore. I was broken. And the fear of being alone was paralyzing me to the fact that I would choose to be sick in a sexless, loveless marriage than be alone without that, because I was so fearful of what life would look without it. Because I was so like, I needed something.
You were afraid of the unknown.
Yeah. And thank God Peter had the guts to do that, because I finally found value in myself, went vegan, changed my lifestyle,
See?
put out into the universe exactly who I wanted, what I wanted to meet, and I met the love of my life in the most magical way possible.
You see?
And so
Wow.
when I stopped being fearful of what was possible, the most seemingly dreaming impossible man and situation arose for me.
Oh my God.
And I think that's what we have to realize is that, you know, fear debilitates the ability to attract what you want in life.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
It is literally the wall.
It is the wall.
You can say, like, I want to be wealthy. I want to be wealthy. But most of the time, you're probably complaining about how broke you are.
Broke.
I have no money.
Money.
So you focus on that fear-based concept, and that's what you continuously live in.
Wow. It's so true. I love the way you said that. You put up the wall. You create the wall yourself.
Right. And so, but you were talking about something earlier about like the suicide rate increasing or seeing more suicide.
Well, I heard this morning. I was at work looking at MSNBC, and they had a segment on there about how many young girls nowadays are committing suicide or have expressed the desire to commit suicide. And I know it's in my family. I mean, it's a lot of people feeling that way. What is causing that? Is it fear? Is it attention? Is it loneliness? Is it the fact that you feel like you're not good enough?
I think that goes into fear. And it could be even something like, you know, chemically low dopamine.
That's true.
When we are chronically, consistently looking at our screens and we're chronically looking for gratification and reward by seeing how many likes we have, who's responding to my messages, did I get an email back, did I book that spot? I mean, these are all things that affect your reward pathway or your dopamine pathway. And so now you're seeing children, adolescents having access to technology where they're chronically breaking down this reward pathway or your dopamine receptor pathway. It's having a reverberating effect in terms of your self-worth and self-value, your self-efficacy and your self-confidence. And so now, on top of that, you have that there was a thing in the news the other day because there was this girl who committed suicide because she was being bullied at school. And so, God, I mean, like, let's break it down. I graduated from high school in 2001. You graduated in high school in
69.
Okay. A big gap between then. But even in 2001, Columbine, the first school shooting happened when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
Columbine. And so I think when bullying happened for us, like, I know this sounds terrible and I'm not trying to say you have to tough it out, but we had to tough it out. The quantity of individuals committing suicide from bullying in schools was not as prevalent as it is today.
True.
It wasn't. But we also didn't have the internet, as we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Facebook yet. These are all things that have impacted how people can respond to you. And remember, like we said, like haters. Imagine being 14, not having the cognitive development like an adult to, like Babette says, ignore it. Just ignore these people. Stop talking to them. Stop listening to them. When you don't have that capacity as a child, it could be a life or death situation.
Yeah, you know, also in my 69, back when I was a youngster, in my community, in my neighborhood, we couldn't afford to, give in to bullies. I had a brother that was a gangster, pretty much. And if I was ever in a physical altercation with anyone, the first question that was asked when I got home, did you win? And if I didn't, I got punched. That was my brother. I had that to look forward to when I got home. So if there was ever anybody that wanted to go toe-to-toe with me, I did not have a choice as a kid, because I knew I had that person at home that was going to really create problems for me. So, no, bullying didn't work too well. Not when I was a kid in school, but bullying didn't work too well at all for us. We didn't deal with that. We would fight.
And I was kind of toughness.
To different kind, yeah. But I mean, that's horrible too. But see, back in the day, we used our hands to fight. We weren't pulling out guns and knives, and we weren't doing all that. We were just going toe to toe, and best person win. That's kind of how it was. But I never dealt with being bullied.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was like you were gonna have a hard time trying to bully me.
So let's go back to the fear topic. What was the thing that you were most fearful of?
I was most fearful of what I was going to get when I got home if I didn't handle my business out in the street. I mean, older girls would, like, I remember my girlfriend and I don't know what we were doing, but we ran from some older girls and they caught up with us and they were like, why are you running? Why did you run from us? Don't ever run from anybody. It was like, but this is 1969. Well, you're not going to be bullied. Period. That was just kind of how we rolled back then, but it is massively different now. The internet is making people, so weak. They feel horrible about the way that they look, about the way that they dress. They don't feel like they're good enough. They compare themselves with everybody they see. When you see these little singers and these people, man, these people are blowing makeup on their faces. They don't look like that. I'm not the makeup on my face. I do not look like this when I wash all the paint off my face. We need to get more into embracing us. I wash it off when I get home. Go take a look at what you look like. Stop tripping, because you've got so many people comparing themselves. I had somebody say, I want to be like you. And I'm like, no, you don't want to be like me. Be like you. Be the best you can be. You don't want to be, but we're always comparing ourselves. I don't know.
We'd love to hear what you think. What are your fears? Subscribe, comment below. Let us know what you're thinking.
It's important.
It is really important that we are on the same path here, because I think when it comes to fear, remember, it comes in many avenues. It can stop you, but if you have a choice to not embed fear into others,
right?
Choose not to be that person.
Don't do that.
Like, you don't have to. We've gotten to a time where people feel like that they can comment and say whatever they want through a screen, because you don't know what it feels like to be punched in the face when you say it to my face.
That's true.
Because Babette and I both grew up the same. Like, in Richmond, Southside, downtown, you don't mess with those people. You just don't do it.
No, you don't.
Because you will get cut.
Yeah, you get yourself.
I'm not saying I'm going to cut you, but, like, be ready for your mouth to open up by my fist.
No, it's
if
true,
you have something to say.
You had to learn how to take care of yourself.
That's when you learn not what to say. Because you realize your words have consequences. And now you're in a space where you feel like you can say whatever you want without consequence.
I heard, and I don't know if everybody saw this, and I'm not really talking about politics, but I heard something so ridiculous from one of the leaders in our Congress right now. I think she uses the letters MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she said something so absurd and so ignorant, but it's all there on the internet for everybody to hear it. Everybody. It was so insensitive. It was racist. It was a racist comment, but it's there. Nobody stops it. Nobody puts an end to it. And we have access to all of that.
And these little microaggressions deal more into fear-mongering, creating doubt amongst communities and people of color, or
divide
even if you're not
conquer.
a person of color, somebody could say something offensive to women, or for you as a mother, or for you if you have somebody that's disabled in your family and they say something rude about that. Like, people are creating fearful spaces. So my suggestion to you is, if you can be a person who does not create a fearful space for others, do it. And the best way to do that is by stop putting animals on your plate.
Go on and wrap it up. Boo.
I'm just saying,
that was a beautiful
how can you make it only solely to yourself and to humans, when we create so much suffering So much suffering in the world for what just satisfies your taste buds.
And not even just taste buds. We have people that go out and slaughter and murder other sentient beings to put their head on their wall.
Oh, I see that of the giraffe the other day. I just
That-
lost my shit.
That is the most ignorant, cruel thing that anybody can do. I'm going to go kill this animal so I can put his head on my wall. Really?
Fear is
Really?
it's not just particular to you.
Mm.
All these living sentient beings feel fear. And if you were being hunted because of your race, your creed, your color, your sex, just the way you were born.
Oh, wow, that's deep.
Man.
Yeah, something to think
Your
about.
dog should be lucky they were born a dog and not a cow.
Ooh, wow.
And that's the thing with Buddhism, right? You talk about enlightenment and coming back. And this is why people are seeking enlightenment in every lifetime. They want to achieve this ultimate form of bliss, of enlightenment, of knowing.
Understanding.
And you keep coming back if you have something to learn. And the thing with Buddhism is that Babette could come back as a fish, as a salmon.
There you go.
In her next lifetime, if something in this that she has to figure out, and you could be the idiot that kills that person, the soul that you love so much in this lifetime. And so, like I said, energy transpires, it transgresses, transcends, right? Your chemical energy, what you eat, bioenergetics can change into mechanical energy, gives you energy for exercise, which will then transcend into heat energy because you sweat it off. And then it becomes into energy. Where does that go? And so that happens with humans, happens with animals. But what do you do with fear when that's all involved?
I know.
So we hope that helps. Subscribe, watch, share, like, do it all. We'll see you next time.
And don't be scared.